Die of multiple gunshot wounds. King's death was officially ruled a homicide after today's autopsy by the county medical examiner. The body was found yesterday in a white SUV 3 days after the bodies of Hudson's mother and brother were discovered in their home on the city's south side.
And not just mother and brother, her 7-year-old little nephew also murdered. Out to Susan Roseton, CNN correspondent, standing by there in Chicago. It was multiple gunshot wounds. How many times do we know the little boy was shot?
You know, the medical examiner's spokesman, Nancy, would not tell us how many times, nor would he tell us where the child was shot in the body. And my question would be, does this mean that the killer was a lousy shot, or does it mean that somebody hated a 7-year-old boy so much that he had to be shot multiple times?
Or
what does
did
that mean?
someone want to get rid of an eyewitness, which means the little boy may have known the assailant and could have named him by name to police. To Kathy Cheney with the Chicago Defender, I understand cops have been back to the scene every single day since the shooting.
Yes, you could see investigators going in and outside of the home, in the yards, looking in the grass, the ground and everything, because they're just searching for clues, whatever they could find. They're also searching for the weapon that has not been found.
We are taking your calls live very quickly. Susan Roseton, car payments, motive for murder?
I hardly think so, Nancy. I hardly think so. That because he had the car and Julia was supposed to make a payment and her wages were garnished, which we did confirm, by the way, one time. I don't think so.
I don't know. Let's unleash the lawyers. Joining us tonight, child advocate Susan Moss out of New York, veteran defense attorney Raymond Giudice out of Atlanta, and Peter Schaefer, defense attorney out of New York. You know, Ray Giudice, I remember one of the first murders I prosecuted was over $10.
Yeah, I was going to say a pack of cigarettes,
yeah,
right.
Never rule out
No.
what would or would not be a motive.
I totally agree with you, and let me also say, don't worry about motive. Who, when, and where is the key to this case. Motive is for dime store novels. You don't need a motive to convict somebody. And as you know, like we said, a bottle of beer, a fight over a card game with no money involved has been motive for a murder.
And I want to go to Susan Moss. They're going to be up the creek without a paddle if what reports are saying is true, and that is the girlfriend contradicts the alibi.
Oh, that's going to be huge, because if he doesn't have an alibi, he's going to be the person they look to first. And let me tell you something. This guy violates parole. If you violate parole, you're supposed to pay the toll, not get released for another criminal role. This is outrageous. If he truly had coke in his car and he was arrested, he's supposed to go back to jail.
To Peter Schaefer, a defense attorney, but as the mother said, and this is true, I've got the document right here, when he had the dope back in June, that revocation was dropped. He fell through the cracks. No probable cause to get him on the dope in his car.
Well, I mean, if the parole could violate him, whether there is probable cause or not, but they felt that the violation wasn't significant enough. Not every arrest leads to somebody going back to prison. So.
Well, I'm not talking about going back to prison. I'm talking about a parole violation.
Right.
Everybody, very quickly, Jennifer Hudson still in Chicago, the American Idol contestant turned superstar Oscar winner. Take a look. That blows no good, yeah, yeah. He's a sad heart that won't love like I know it should. What a voice. That is a clip of Hudson auditioning for Fox's American Idol. To John Peter Lewis, you all may remember him as I do, the American Idol finalist and friend of Jennifer Hudson, also a star in his own right. You knew her very well, especially at that time. How close was she, John Peter Lewis, to her family?
Very close. Very, very close. I mean, they had, her brothers were, her brother was always there in the audience supporting her. I mean, I remember him, well, him and his mother, you know, always around, you know, she was wearing the shirts for, you know, Jennifer, and he was always going through, like, the studio, and he was, like, saying, fire it up all the time, you know, and he was really, really supportive of her, and you could tell that they had a great relationship. And I remember meeting Julia as well.
With me, John Peter Lewis, an American Idol finalist and friend of Jennifer Hudson's. Both of your lives have changed so much since Idol, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely.
In what way?
Well, you know, I mean, it really, in every way. I mean, it's like, you know, American Idol takes, you know, someone from relatively, well, from nowhere, really, and you know, you're suddenly thrust in front of 60 million people, and I mean, you have a career in front of you at that point, and you know, I mean, it really, you know, it changes your life in every aspect. I mean, everyone knows who you are, and knows your name, and you know, it's definitely just this.
You know what, John Peter Lewis, everyone, you remember John Peter Lewis, a contestant himself, a star in his own right. You really hit the nail on the head. To Dr. Lillian Glass, everyone does know who you are. Are police ignoring the fact that Jennifer Hudson, major superstar, did that have anything to do with these murders?
Well, we really don't know this yet, so we
But what
don't
kind
know.
of a mind would take some type of joy in hurting an idol's family?
Probably somebody that had a lot of rage, a lot of jealousy, a lot of hatred in them, a lot of anger. And this is the type of sick mind that would do something like this, especially kill a little child.
We are taking your calls live to Vanessa in New York. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
I'm good, dear. What's your question?
I was just wondering, when Jennifer was on Idol, she had a boyfriend in Chicago.
Right.
And this boyfriend went to the Grammys with her.
Yes.
Now, after that, it was just shortly after, I know she's now engaged to somebody else.
Right.
And I'm just wondering if the ex-boyfriend is a person of interest. Because, why I'm saying that, guys take a while to get over certain things, and she's certainly, you know, flaunting the new boyfriend. And I saw her in Oprah, and she was very, very impressed, you know, talking about her new boyfriend, and it was really something. So I would think that, you know, he could be a person of interest.
To Vanessa's New York question, Bill Majeski, former NYPD detective, he's with the Majeski Associates. He's not a person of interest, but her question is well put. Why do police start with former boyfriends, husbands, lovers?
Because very often former boyfriends are in some way involved in situations like this. But in this particular case, it's quite easy for the police to just contact this fellow and find out what his alibi was for that evening. In regard to our not suspect, but our person of interest, he was asked to take a polygraph test, and he refused to take the polygraph test. You know, clearly, if he had nothing to hide, he should be taking the test.
Excellent point. Let's go back to his mother joining us tonight exclusively, giving us his side of the story, Michelle Davis Balfour, the mother of William Balfour. Is that true? Did he refuse to take a polygraph?
When I got down to the police station that night to go see my son, I was refused to see him. He was refused any legal assistance. They would not let him see an attorney. He asked for an attorney. They did not give out. See, they're not telling y'all.
Does he have a lawyer now?
No, he doesn't. They did not give him a lawyer at the time of this. They just shipped my son. I asked them, Detective Kelly of the Chicago Police Department at District 1, I asked him, can I see my son? He told me very rudely, no, get the hell out of here. You can't see your son.
Did your son refuse to take a polygraph? Do you know?
No, no one knows. No one knows. No one knows. I don't know. You don't know. No one knows if he refused. But they refused one of his rights, and that's for him to have an attorney present.
William Balfour in the custody of Illinois Department of Corrections for violating conditions of parole and remains a person of interest in this investigation. No suspects have been named. We're following any lead we can get right now. He's a person of interest, but that's not to say that there's not other individuals that may turn up.